Modern Warfare Season 5 update is here, and with it came a ton of stuff to talk about. While we're more than likely going to be seeing some secret changes, as we always do with every single update, in this video I want to run down every major and mentioned change from the patch notes and let you know what's new with Season 5's newest additions. So as we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. What's your favorite parts? The new maps, the new weaponry, the new battle pass, the new Warzone points of interest, the new Gulag rotation? Whatever it is, drop it below. As well, if you are new to the channel, perhaps part of that nearly 57% of viewers not subscribed to the channel, do be sure to do so in order to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare and Warzone, as we have a ton of Season 5 content you won't want to miss, and as well, with a 2020 reveal likely on the very near horizon, stick it here for all of that as well. With that said, there's so much to discuss, so let's just jump into the thick of it. Firstly, Update 1.24. At the size of 33.9 gigabytes on PlayStation 4, 49.8 gigabytes on Xbox One, and two different sizes on PC, one of 54.2 gigabytes for premium users, meaning those who own the full game of Modern Warfare, and finally 47.4 gigabytes for those of the free-to-play users for Warzone only. This update was a hefty one, and you may be installing it maybe even as you watch this video perhaps, but this is another case of a larger file size that is actually meant to help the overall digital footprint of the game. While up front it's a large download, as other recent updates, you're downloading assets that will be overwriting current ones in the game, but in a more optimized manner, meaning that those overwritten items will be smaller by comparison to where they were beforehand. While it doesn't help the initial sticker shock of the sizing perhaps, this will be why you're seeing such large downloads. Not only the new content, but also existing content that's being better optimized. So the initial download explanation out of the way, let's talk about the content. Let's start firstly with the multiplayer side of things. Firstly, we ended up getting new maps of Petrov Oil Rig, Suldal Harbor, Livestock, and Verdansk International Airport. Oil Rig is kind of a bigger map here with this. It's a little bit more complex, maybe confusing to some players, but a lot of different avenues, a lot of different routes to take, but a map that tries to do what it can here to give both long range, medium, and close quarters gunfights, and it's one that initially I'm intrigued by. I think it's one of those things that I want to come back to it and still get a little bit more of a feel on how this one plays, but it is something that's pretty nice, reminding me of course of that classic from Offshore, and of course also what it was initially going to be, the Modern Warfare 3 version of Oil Rig in Modern Warfare 2, based upon the campaign mission The Only Easy Day Was Yesterday. So definitely one that I think is a really cool locale to have for this, but one you should definitely jump into. As for Harbor, this may actually be one that if you're a longtime veteran of the game and franchise, you may actually recognize, because this is a reimagination here and remake of one of the original maps of Harbor from Call of Duty and Call of Duty United Offensive, also in Call of Duty 2 under the name of Rostov. But anyways, this map has a couple of different levels of play. It's got some verticality to it. It's not as big, in my opinion, here as Oil Rig, and it's one that may be a little bit more chaotic for some close quarters engagements. There's a lot of open area, yes, but I think a lot of those engagements you'll take end up funneling to those closer quarters engagements. So just be conscious of that, take it how you will, and check it out. Of course, you do have that Oil Rig and Harbor 24/7 playlist right now. From a little bit of lobby surfing, it seems like it's kind of skewed in the way of Harbor is the majority of those, so that might not be a 50-50 split, but it's something to check out for sure. As for Livestock, again, it is a closer quarters map here on the inner portions, but it is also something that does have some wide area and open area on the outsides. This 2v2 gunfight map looks to be something of an even playing ground, I think, compared to some of the other maps, and I definitely don't think that it's going to take Hill's spot as my least favorite gunfight map, so that's at least a win here it has for it. Anyways, as for Verdansk International Airport, the ground war map rounding out the maps, man, this one's really big. You end up going from the highway to the west of the airport as one HQ and all the way back to mobile trailer homes behind tarmac as the other HQ. So you have a ton of area to play around with. There are places that are sectioned off and that you can't actually go to, like the apartments by car dealership just outside of the airport. And there's a lot of open area, but also a lot of close quarter stuff as well. There seems to be so many lines of sight. When I played it initially, it wasn't my favorite thing, but it was still something that I think once I get the hang of it, I'll be a little bit better at it. But definitely a map that I'd jump into. It's in the rotation currently in ground war, but unfortunately you can't just get only that one like you can the others. Outside of the maps, we also saw that with every single seasonal update, we end up getting a new battle pass. This is no exception. We have 100 new tiers of new content to grind down and earn if you so choose to do so. If you haven't seen it just yet, check out the video on the channel right now breaking it all down. That's live if you're interested, but it offers the same as previous previous seasons. The ability to, again, gain those free tiers or the premium ones. Premium offering up, of course, access to all 100 tiers. The free tiers giving you about a fifth of that in terms of content, but you don't have to put any money into it. Plus, you also get the initial bonuses of lurch and the other items as well for simply activating the battle pass. Also, coming in the battle pass, but is something you don't have to necessarily buy into, they're available for free for all users through that battle pass progression, are two new weapons of the AN94 and the ISO SMG. For the AN94, honestly, I think this one has a lot of potential. It is something that when you get it kitted out, I think it'll be much more useful in your armory as opposed to the base weapon. The base weapon here on this one, the iron sights, not a huge fan of. One thing though that is interesting is that it seems like the single fire fires actually 2 shots at a time, as if that first shot is a dual burst, which it is normally if you take a look at the AN94 from previous Call of Duties as well. But firing 2 shots, that theoretically could be something that helps you out big time in gunfights. So I'll have to play around here with this a little bit further to confirm whether or not single fire is the wave, but right now it's definitely something to consider. But I had a lot of fun with this one here. As for the ISO, this one seems a little bit more so midline, middle of the pack. It's not one that really stood out to me just yet, but I think again it comes down to me just needing to get more hands-on time to really give an accurate representation of what the weapon can hold. Whether it's really good kitted out, I don't know. I haven't gotten it up to that point just yet, but we'll of course keep you updated here in the coming days as we progress through all of this. But definitely worth checking out, and of course, since it's only tier 15, you get it right off the bat if you end up getting the battle pass bundle, or it's not too far into the grind if you don't want to buy anything. Another really cool new feature that was stuck in the patch notes and wasn't really something that was ever really heavily marketed. It was mentioned by Joel Emsley over on Reddit that this would be coming, but outside of that, again, it was kind of just relatively slipped under the radar, is weapon inspects. Now you end up having the ability in Modern Warfare to utilize the weapon inspect animation to see your weapon right up in your first person perspective, but in a more cinematic manner here with this. Kind of curious they added it in so late into the game, 10 months into Modern Warfare's life cycle, with presumably another game right on the horizon, but better late than never, I suppose. So if you're looking to get some nice thumbnail images as a content creator, that's a great way to do it. If you just want to check out your custom build, that's a great way to do it as well. We also ended up seeing that there were new modes and playlists with the playlist refresh as well for Season 5, in which we have the playlist this week of Ground War with Verdansk International Airport in the rotation, Blueprint gunfights, that's something we've seen beforehand, Search and Destroy Double Down, which is Search and Destroy but 12v12 with a slight twist as well in it, Face Off with livestock in that, and also Oil Rig and Harbor 24/7. So that kind of does it for the front-facing changes on the MP side of things. Let's jump over though to Warzone because there's still a ton here to cover. Firstly, to start out with the new points of interest. Stadium and train station are both opened up here within Season 5, and so Verdansk is, as they mentioned in the trailer, never going to be the same. Stadium honestly is massive. There is so much to that when opened up that it's kind of daunting at first. Of course, if you try and go there right off the rip, you're going to be met with a ton of people. We jumped into Plunder just because, well, you can respawn in there, so you have a better chance of at least making it worth your time, though you'll still encounter a ton of people, but you're definitely going to be hotly contested if you drop there. But you have a lot of areas of play. You have the playing field, you have that soccer pitch, you end up having the stands, you have the concourses, and then you have the VIP levels up above. Plus, you of course have that roof that looks over into the stadium, and you end up having those new ascenders that allow you to get up there also. So there is a lot to do with Stadium, and it's definitely going to change, I think, the meta of how people play the game, or at least approach where they drop, where they take engagements, because it's a big game changer. Train, honestly, I thought this one was probably the more surprisingly positive adjustment of the two. I honestly think Train is definitely what was needed here for that area. We had things like those stairwells that were blocked off and you couldn't really do anything with it. Now you can go into those, go into the inner concourses with it. There's a lot that just kind of fills out that area, whereas it was just a blocked off structure. I really like what they did with Train. I hope that it plays properly as well, that it plays as good as I am hoping it does, but it is something that for the time being, when jumping in and looking at it in Plunder, I was really pleased with that one here. Additionally, on top of those new 2 points of interest, we also see the new mobile train coming around as well. That's in the southwestern portion of Verdansk on a regular loop, but it's definitely going to be an interesting addition here to this. This you can hear off in the distance. You can check it out on your minimap in real time as well. So there's a couple of indicators that give away that it's coming or that it's in a general vicinity. But if you end up getting on top of it, it is something that it doesn't kill you immediately if you jump onto the side. You just need to jump and mantle onto it. But that is something that comes along with a ton of loot crates on there, a lot of legendary ones as well. Not as many as I thought, though, to be totally honest with you. There's still a great amount of loot there, but I kind of thought there was going to be a little bit more. But definitely worthwhile checking out if you haven't done so, or if you say you need to land back on something, maybe you get lucky and nobody looted it. But it is a cool little addition here with this, maybe a little bit more of a novelty for some players, but definitely something worthwhile. Another big one that I'm incredibly happy about, and hopefully this is not just the initial honeymoon phase of it, but I hope that it actually works out well for the longevity and being able to be anti-camper here with this, is that of the new exterior ascenders, or those new grapples, if you will, to get up on top of areas that don't have many other ways to get up to there, such as stadium rooftop, such as buildings in downtown. That stuff has been added in to combat some of that camping that we see. Additionally, we saw the introduction of new mastery challenges for both MP and Warzone, which is pretty cool, in which you can end up getting new calling cards for completing a various number of challenges. Some of them definitely out there, some of them as straightforward as winning X amount of games, though those kind of ones seem to be tracking improperly, so bear that in mind, but some cool ones that you can check out from there. On the initial front-facing side of things on Warzone, we also, of course, see that playlist refresh with Season 5, in which we have BR Duos, BR Trios, BR Quads, and Solos is actually called Solos Buyback. It was previously Solo Stimulus, so not sure why the name change was needed, but it's the exact same composition. Make sure you end up having that $4,500 on you so you can end up being bought back. Then you, of course, have Blood Money Quads and also Mini Royale Trios, which is a faster-paced battle royale in the condensed areas of Verdansk. Now this one's interesting. Mini Royale sees you dropping in with, I believe, around 78 players here with this, and so smaller player counts, smaller zone right off the bat. You already have a huge portion walled off by the zone, and it's something that just makes that a smaller area of play. One cool thing is that it progresses that sort of timetable on how things progress in the zone, so you get your loadout relatively quick, actually, right after dropping in. So you can use that cash as different utility for UAVs, self-revives, whatever it may be, but it's something that definitely is a nice way to play. It changes every single time as well, so it also keeps you on your heels. Got to think of each new game as a new strategy, and of course, the fact that there's not as much area to play, and also you're being constantly pushed in, it's nice that it doesn't really have as much camping, at least as I would hope so. My squad and I won our first game on, had a great time with it, so hopefully that keeps up, and hopefully we still love it here over the course of the next couple of days, but that's something I would definitely recommend jumping into. Rounding out the Warzone specific side of things, we ended up seeing that there's new loot items and also new Gulag weaponry rotations, which is going to be something rather interesting as well. As it stands, we'll see 4 sets of rotations coming in and out of the Gulag every single week. We'll have these updated. So one week it'll be one set, another a different set, a third week a third set, and the fourth week a fourth set as well. So a nice little change of pace here that kind of keeps us on our toes, and one that I think will be pretty good. Other new content added in before we jump into some technical stuff here with this. Firstly, we end up seeing the new seasonal 155 weapon reward, which is of course given to you just for simply reaching that rank. This season grants you the Dawn to Dusk Fennec variant. Additionally, we see the introduction of those new 100 officer challenges, of course going from 56 to 156, or I guess 155 capped out, where you don't necessarily get to 156, but it would be if it carried over. Again, new challenges that give you XP and those new emblems. This season's emblems are actually really awesome, so make sure you go for those if you're interested at all with that and trying to get those animated emblems along the way. You have new trials, which is a great way to rank up. We may talk about that again here in the next day or two, talking about the best ways to rank up so that you, of course, can get that 155 rank as quick as possible, but new trials are available also. Then we finally have, on the front-facing side of things, new changes and items to the shop. In the featured section, we end up seeing we have a Season 5 Battle Pass bundle, the Wetland Protection Protection and the Eternal Samurai introduced this week. The other ones may be subject to change just simply because blueprints and operators really depend on the player and what they've interacted with in the shop, so you may not have the exact same things that I do, though it will likely introduce one or two more items that are new with the season for you this time around. But for this, we end up seeing, of course, the Battle Pass bundle is simply just the 20 tiers. That's for 2,400 COD points, but it grants you access as well, plus those instant 20 tier boosts, so you can get a few items right off the bat. The Wetland Protection comes along for 1,800 COD points, in which it comes with the Everglade Golem skin, the Death Roll Og variant, the Mangrove Watch, the Hardly Seems Fair Golem Quip, the Protein Diet Calling Card, the Croc Skull Charm, the Hard to Swallow emblem, and the Swamp Savior sticker. Honestly, that Golem skin is pretty cool. The Og I really wouldn't use, so that one entirely up to you. The Eternal Samurai, though, rounding out the shop that we'll talk about here at this, is 1,000 COD points, but it's the Daimyo melee for the Kadachi, the Shogun melee for the Riot Shield, the Forever Loyal Calling Card, and the Bushido emblem. Now, this completely nullifies what we saw on the roadmap because the Kadachi was actually introduced here at launch. You can get it either in the shop or in the challenge section by getting 3 kills from behind with melees in 15 different matches. So that's something that you should definitely be aware of. Definitely a really cool one. And of course, if you're a Melee fan, it's a nice way to start out Season 5. Now, it wouldn't be an update video if we didn't talk about the technical changes as well that go along with all of this. And surprisingly, there's actually not a whole lot of them that are super significant. And the biggest ones that I'm sure a lot of people were looking forward to were weapon changes. There were really no significant weapon meta changes or shifts in any capacity, though it is listed in the patch notes saying we'll have weapon tuning and other weapon adjustments in a future patch. Stay tuned. So we should be seeing something more here relatively soon, but right now for the Season 5 launch, things like your Bruin, things like your FAL are still going to reign supreme. Though we ended up seeing some weapon adjustments to specific weaponry. In such cases, the PKM Bludgeoner will now allow you to pick up weapon ammo from other PKM variants, whereas it wasn't doing so beforehand. The 23-inch RPK barrel was broken in the game on the AK-47. That's been fixed out where that weapon model will now showcase. The FR556 was increased in its effective damage range in Warzone, possibly in an attempt to maybe bring it up to scale as a viable weapon, because I'll be honest with you, I'd take a pistol in some situations over that pre-patch. Additionally, the effective damage range for all semi-auto DMR and semi-auto sniper rifles was increased in Warzone, so that includes things like your EBR, SKS, Dragunov, and the likes. As for more so MP-specified changes, there was a fix for the invisible collision appearing in Barricade Promenade. I'm really surprised that they didn't fix that one earlier. There was a fix for an exploit where players were able to give themselves unlimited ammo. There was a fix for issues where players were hearing a missed hit VO with a precision airstrike when it was called in. There was also an added VO line when a player's high alert warning is triggered, so kind of a buff here to that perk. And then on the Warzone side of things for technical changes, we saw a fix for a bug where players' physics could be controlled by the helicopter when they parachute out, meaning they were kind of slingshotted around by that helicopter. There was also a fix for an issue where players were unable to call in airstrikes. There were fixes for players seeing invalid pings on the heartbeat sensor. In BR only, it added a new VO line to warn players of enemy recon drones being called in near them. And also, previously, the most wanted contract could respawn dead players. Now it can respawn players in the gulag in any state. So that's an interesting change as well. There's some other stuff that's really smaller and more technical on that side of things, so I can leave the link down there in the description below to the entire patch notes, but that kind of does it. There's some stuff about CDL restrictions, there's some things about spec ops, some PC optimization, so if you want to check out the full scope of that and not necessarily the big juicy highlights, I can of course leave that down there. You can check it out in the description. But anyways, that is really where we're at here at Season 5. A lot of stuff up front, like we talked about in that roadmap video earlier yesterday, but quite a lot to play around with here on launch. So I'm excited to jump into it, get my hands on it, and really start to experience the season, getting a little bit more of a taste of what's to come and a little bit more of an understanding if I like it or if I don't like it, and also hopefully see some stuff with that Easter egg. But anyways, that's where we're at, so I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. Are you liking Season 5 so far? Are you liking some of the changes we listed off? Whatever it is, feel free to let me know. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below, and of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare, updates, news, information, tips, tricks, all that good stuff. We got you covered. We got a ton of stuff with Season 5, so make sure you stick it right here. You don't want to miss any of it. And of course, 2020 on the horizon as well. We'll keep you posted with any of that. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. Practically live on both those. So if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, wherever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.